What's up everyone, it's Rich with yet another deep dive into the best of the internet in Ghana, in Africa, and possibly even the world. Today, we're talking about Starlink. By the way, while I have you here, make sure you hit that like button and smash that subscribe button because you know you're going to get a lot of value out of this video. So, whether you're a remote worker, digital nomad, curious about moving to Ghana for the first time, or you're a Ghanaian or a diasporan living abroad with roots back here in Ghana and Africa, you know that one of the most important things to get right is the internet. I'll tell it to you straight. Starlink, easy sell. And I'm not being sponsored or gifted anything for this video. But you also need to understand this is internet to power your entire household. I still think it's worth it for a one-person home, but I think the more people in your household, the more you can appreciate the value that this particular solution brings. So, let's get into it. Let's get everyone's biggest concern out of the way, the price. Yes, this is pricey, especially for the average Ghanaian. This is not for everyone, but it should be. It should be in schools and universities. It should be in any public sector office that requires high-speed internet connectivity to provide essential services to inform, educate, and assist the general public. The biggest cost here is the cost of equipment and government taxes. Let's look at the numbers at the time I purchased mine. So here you see that we have the standard kit at 4,421 Ghana cedis, which is roughly around $280. Not bad, all things considered, because it's the equipment you're thinking about. And then the shipping and handling is also not that bad, 290 Ghana cedis, or approximately $18. So altogether, you're looking at 4,712 Ghana cedis. Comes out to be about $300 for shipping and handling. Now, what's wild is just that the taxes on this, I know it says 15% there, but it's actually more like 21% tax. So you're looking at 1,031 Ghana cedis, and this is just when I purchased this. Now let's look at the numbers for the internet service itself. Okay, so this is interesting because the actual subscription is technically worth 603 Ghana cedis, or about $38 a month. Right? And so that's actually not that bad. Now you factor in these taxes that get added on at 166 Ghana cedis, or $10 a month. That's about 27%, not 15% like it says. So I don't know where those numbers are coming from. So now if you're somebody coming from abroad to live in Ghana and you're looking at this solution, you're thinking this is super affordable, like this is a no-brainer. Keep in mind, people in Ghana who are looking for high-speed internet, this may not be as affordable or accessible for them. Now, let's look at the numbers for two of the biggest internet service providers currently in Ghana. From my experience living and working in Ghana, when you consider that between 2 or more people living in a household, you're likely to top up or prepay 2 to 3 times on average every month, depending on your usage. Using these numbers, you'll be paying at minimum 700 Ghana cedis, 600 Ghana cedis, or 800 Ghana cedis at the low end. Starlink coming in at 770 Ghana cedis is extremely fair, especially when you consider that this is a company that has no real physical presence in Ghana. There's no cap to your data usage, and you won't mysteriously lose your bundles or find 10 gigabytes of your bundle are missing. With Starlink, you can use 90 gigabytes, you can use 500 gigabytes. In fact, you don't even have to think about it at all. All of that, and we haven't even talked about why Starlink in Ghana is so crucial, and in Africa it's so important. So stay tuned. By the way, If you haven't already, make sure you go check out my previous video about the best internet while traveling in Ghana and the world really. Spoiler alert, it's about Google Fi Wireless. Ooh, mosquitoes. Let's switch gears now and talk about how I got my Starlink and what the setup process was like. Back in September of 2021, while I was living in New York, I heard that Starlink might be providing services to Ghana in 2022. I was very skeptical, but I signed up for the waiting list and I made a deposit of $99. 2022 rolled around with no update. 2023 came and went. And then finally, on August 28th, 2024, I received a message. Your Starlink is ready. You have 7 days to confirm order. I had totally forgotten about Starlink. I had totally forgotten about my deposit. And at this point, I wasn't even sure I wanted it anymore. But it just so happened that I had booked my flight for Ghana and it was in 10 days. My trip was going to be 6 weeks long and my family and I were going to be working remotely. The kids were going to be streaming YouTube and movies, and my parents in Ghana would definitely benefit from an internet upgrade. So I said, why not? Besides, my YouTube subscribers, they're starving. You guys, you haven't had any new content from me to chop. Delivery was set for 3 weeks and it would arrive while I was here in Ghana. And I have to say, the real MVP of this story is DHL. I was able to track my package all the way from Starlink US to Ghana, and when it arrived, DHL called to confirm my location, and even when I missed the call 3 times, they arranged to have someone drop it off to me after business hours. When I talked to the other delivery guy, he told me that they had over 2,000 Starlink packages that they needed to deliver, some of which were even going to other internet service providers here in Ghana. I'm gonna let you draw your own conclusions about that. Okay, and now the moment you've all been waiting for, the unboxing and setup of Starlink. Let's go. It demands an unrestricted view of the sky. First, we're gonna connect the Ethernet cable. Okay, it looks like once that Ethernet cable is in, it is not coming out. So make sure you know exactly where you're gonna do that and make sure it doesn't loop through anything you don't want it to loop through, because it's pretty snug in there. It doesn't want to come out. So you've been warned. We're gonna climb up here to make sure I'm not gonna fall down. I did a couple of tests climbs before doing this, so don't hurt yourself, people. I'm just gonna find a nice snug spot on top, unrestricted view of the sky. I'm gonna climb a bit higher just to make sure that it's in position nicely. Up. Looks good. Now I'm just gonna do a little bit to secure this cable, and then we're gonna run it into the pergola here, and we're gonna sit in the nice shade and test it out. So now that the dish is up on the roof, this is the moment of truth where we come over here and we plug in the USB. Right? And then we have to plug in the power. Now you'll notice that I have this surge protector here, just in case. I don't want to mess up my equipment, so let's go ahead and plug it in. There we go. All right. So the one thing is that There's no, oh, there it is. There's a little light on over there. I was gonna say there was no indication that this is on now, but there's that little light over there. And the rest of the setup we do on the phone. All right, so now we're going to do the setup. I don't know what to expect, but let's get into it. Okay, so we open the Starlink app, and let me just check to see. It looks like I'm logged in. Oh, it looks like my residential Starlink is active there. I didn't even do anything yet, but let's do the start setup for standard. Confirm. Find a clear view of the sky. I have a clear view. Okay. Mount is installed. I just used the mount that was with it, so continue with kickstand. Yes. Okay, cool. Okay, so plug in Starlink and router. I already did that, and so my Starlink is plugged in. Okay, connect to Starlink Wi-Fi. Connect your Starlink Wi-Fi network. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Looks good. So now we go back here. It says Starlink is successfully paired. That was very easy. Okay, so I need to align it by 26 degrees, and it's gonna help me, it says. So let's try and do that. I literally just went up to the roof and turned the Starlink a few inches around. So now we get to configure the Wi-Fi. I get to set the network name and password. So I will be right back after this. Okay, so I set up the network name and password, and now it's applying the settings. Okay, connect. Yeah. So there's the new network, Hack Home GH. Okay, entered my password, connect. And now it's connected. Okay, so now we gotta do the speed test. All right, so Starlink has its own speed test in its app, but I decided to test that against an online source just to be unbiased. And so you can see that they're performing relatively similarly, and Starlink actually has it a bit lower at 230 megabits per second, at least in download speeds. The other one is 279 download speeds. And then we have the uploads, which are not as incredible as I thought they would be. So we have 13.4 megabits in the Starlink app, and we have 6.45 in the online tester. Keep in mind, I did this on the mobile phone, and then I'm going to show you the one on the laptop. Typically, these tests will vary based on what device you're on, the bandwidth, whether there are other internet activities happening on the device, and then also these different speed tests use different servers and locations. So all of those are going to impact these speed tests. Okay, so as you can see, the download speeds on the laptop are relatively lower than they were on the mobile phone, which is to be expected. There's a lot of downloading applications and syncing files going on in the background, so I imagine that's adding to it. And so the uploads looks fairly consistent though, around 10 megabits per second. I think on the phone it was about 13 megabits per second. So that's the kind of performance you can expect, and obviously results will vary depending on your location, device, and whatnot. Okay, so I'm back in the US now, and I want to wrap up this video, and I have a few thoughts. The first of which is I forgot to mention exactly how far out of the city we live. We're about 45 minutes from downtown Accra in Ghana. And so once you start getting out there, there's no fiber optic connectivity to households or businesses or anything like that. And so you have to rely on cellular networks from the telecoms to provide that internet connectivity and for cell phone service and all of that good stuff. Now, in the past, it's gotten a bit better, but in the past, those networks have not always been reliable, especially the further out of the city you get. And so a lot of us had to purchase 2 SIM cards, one from one network, from another network, put it inside our modems and hope that the connectivity is reliable. And oftentimes one would drop, so then you would hop on the other one and back and forth and back and forth. So that's why Starlink is such a game changer when it comes to this, being that it's satellite connectivity. And so you can be as remote as you want to be in Ghana and still receive a reliable service from them. So think about how people in the villages might actually have more reliable connectivity than some of the businesses that live in the downtown area. That's wild. My next thought is, I can't in good conscience say that Starlink is the best internet in Ghana, Africa, the world, at least not yet. Given those upload speeds that I saw and experienced in the test, the download speeds are phenomenal. But what this paints a picture of for me is that we are being positioned to be better consumers of information from all over the world. And yet we have a disinformation problem in this day and age, especially when it comes to talking about African countries and Ghana. And so when there's such a reckoning in terms of the content creation economy in Africa, and there's just so much media that we're ready to put out there, and we have such restrictive upload speeds, it feels like all the world is ever still gonna know or think they know about us are animals on a safari or sick, impoverished people in a village needing their money. So that's not the narrative that I want this to create. And so Starlink, the uploads need to be better. They just need to be better. So this internet solution is not for everyone, and it probably won't be for a while, but it should be. When you think about the potential, when you think about how much of Africa, for example, is not even online yet, then you really start to see the potential of Starlink in very remote areas like this. I started this Best of the Internet series in Ghana and in the world because I'm a remote worker and I need to be able to gain a livelihood through accessing and working online, sharing information with my coworkers online, meeting online. And so when I think about, for example, the state of unemployment in Ghana, the state of education in Ghana, and the thought that there's a whole generation, there are many generations to come, who, if only they had the access through a school, access through a library, or even just one family member that had access to this kind of internet connectivity in whatever remote region of the country they're in, that's liberating. That's freedom. That's generational wealth. Think about it. All right, guys, that's all I have for you for today. Thanks so much for watching. Obviously, if you have any questions, anything you want to say or share, drop it in the comments below. And hey, let me know whether you like these kinds of videos, if you want me to share any more internet or tech videos in Ghana and Africa or in general. And yeah, make sure you hit that like button and smash that subscribe button, because if you're still watching, you got a lot of value out of this. So until next time, peace.